All right, let's go ahead and put some finishing touches on this. What I want to do is I want to start with showing you how to install fonts using what's known as Adobe Typekit. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on the text tool here, just make sure your top layer is selected. Then click on the text tool and come up here to the top where your option bar is. Right up here, we're going to install some fonts from Typekit. See these little green pieces here? Those are fonts that are freely available. Normally you have to pay for fonts, or you get really cheesy fonts that are free. Right up here at the top, you can do add fonts from Typekit. So I'm going to click on this. Now this should open up a new browser window that is going to allow you to search for different kinds of fonts. Now this Adobe Typekit has a ton of different fonts. Going to click OK to get rid of all of these. Leave me alone. A whole bunch of different kinds of fonts, marker fonts. You can do ornaments, stencils, Western, whole bunch of different things. We're going to start. I'm just going to give you the name of the font for this one. It's called Azo Sans. So type in AZO and click on Azo Sans. Now, a font is part of a font family or a typeface. This is showing you every version of this font that's available. There's 13 fonts in the Azo Sans family. There's thin versions, ones that are italic, ones that are lighter, ones that are bold and italic, all the way up to this Uber, which is the largest one that's there. Normally black is the largest one, but this one actually has one that's even larger, and it's only available in all caps. That's the one that I want to actually activate. So down here at the bottom, there is the button that says Activate Font, and you click on it. Now you go back to Photoshop, click up here, go ahead and highlight that text, and you can type AZO, and it may take a moment for it to register, but there, it just showed up, and now I can use that font. So what we're going to do is we're going to come back over here to the Type tool, and I'm going to choose Vertical Type tool. And I want to click up here, kind of near his forehead, just slightly out. And I'm going to click. Now, up here, it doesn't matter what you have right now. I would change this to like 120 just so you can see it. And if you click on this box, yours may be different. It might be black or it could be white. It just depends. This is going to be what the color of the font is going to be. You could even come down into the photo and click on his jersey or somewhere, and it'll choose a color. Right now, I'm not as concerned with the color, but what you're going to do is type in the word King, K-I-N-G, and then change to your Move tool, and now you can move this text wherever you want. What we're going to do is I'm going to put this up here. I'm going to press Control or Command T on the Mac. I'm going to hold down the Shift key, and I can make this much, much larger. And then I'm just going to add that right here. And then what I want to do is I'm going to add just quick couple layer effects. So I'm going to grab this. I'm going to add in a stroke. With this, I'm going to change the position of the stroke to inside. I'm going to make sure that my color is white. I'm going to click OK. And I'm going to play around with the size a little bit. And maybe I'll do center. This is going to have the weight kind of come inside and outside. So you can see it's kind of eating inside of the font, but then also going outside. I don't like what's happening to the G. Let me do outside. Nope, don't like outside either. Let's go back to center. And actually, I will use this as an example. So I'm going to go ahead and change this to 24 and the opacity to 100. Then I'm also going to add in a gradient overlay. And what I'm going to do is it's going to have there may be a black to white gradient that shows up. So you can click on whatever that ramp is. And for this, I'm just going to choose black. And over on this side, I'm double clicking on that stop and I'm going to choose white. Remember, on these gradient ramps, if you happen to click underneath by accident, just hold your mouse button down and just drag them off. Then I'm going to click OK. With this, I'm going to change this angle to 0. Actually, I want it the opposite way. I'm going to do negative 90. Nope. Let's do negative 180. So it's the opposite way. So it's lighter to dark. And then I'm going to change the blending mode here to overlay. Actually, let's do multiply. And I'm going to change the scale just a little bit. It's starting to get kind of crusty. Not really digging that look. So let's actually turn off the gradient. Let's do a drop shadow instead. Just kind of experimenting with you as we go through this, just to kind of see what's looking good and what's not looking good. So I'm going to increase the size and the distance a little bit. Let's see what the spread's doing. That's looking okay. Still not really digging that yellow that's happening on the inside there. So I did a drop shadow. So I did multiply and I did black, 46%, 90-degree angle. Distance was 17, spread is 16, size is 54. And then let's go ahead and do an inner shadow. Click on the name. And you start to see, I'm going to move that one a little bit. That one up. Just trying to make it look like it's kind of pushed in just a little bit. All right, there we go. So I'm going to do multiply, black, 56% opacity, 90 degrees, 22, 8, 29. I'm going to click OK. So now I've got this kind of 3D kind of text. If I don't like the color, I can actually go in and double click on the T and try a different color. Maybe I'll try this darker blue and see what that looks like. I'll click the check mark. That's okay. It's not spectacular. It's not the worst. I'm going to click on the new layer, and I'm going to put it underneath the text. I don't like what's happening right here, where that little portion, see this little spot that's right in there, that purple, and that area, I'm not liking that. So I'm going to come over here on this background layer. I'm going to take the white color for the foreground, and I'm going to switch to my brush. It's the letter B as in boy. I'm going to zoom in a little bit, and I'm just going to paint white. Tap that a couple times. Whoa. No, I am not. I do not like that opacity. Let's do this. Let's take the lasso and let's highlight around where that hole is. And then now I'm going to take the brush and I'm going to tap several times in there. It's looking like the drop shadow is kind of filling that in, which I'm not in love with, but I'm not going to worry too much about that. What I'd like to do now is make another blank layer and put it underneath this one. So this is going to be my G. And on this layer, as long as white is still available, what I'm going to do is I'm going to press Alt backspace or Option backspace on the Mac. And I'm going to temporarily turn that one off for a moment. What I'd like to do is I want to make this area white. So that's why I made this background color right here. So I'm going to take the selection tool, the marquee tool. That's this marquee selection. And right here, let's see, let's try it right about this middle part of the K. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come up here to the top. I'm going to hold my mouse button down. I'm going to drag that over. And now that I'm looking at where the letters are at, I'm not sure if I like it exactly in the center of the K. So I'm just going to use my arrow keys to kind of nudge this around a little bit. I'm doing it like right about there where the I starts. All right. So now I'm going to turn this layer back on. So this layer is the white layer. So what I want to do is I want to hide. I want this part to be white, but I want this part to be solid so that I can actually see LeBron James in that. So what I want to do is I want to reverse my selection. So I've selected this area. What I'd like to do is go to Select and do Inverse. It looks like it's the same thing, but if you notice where the marching ants are, it actually did the opposite. So that now what I can do is I can click Mask and then press Control I. And what that does is that cuts that piece down. Now, looking at this, now I'm not liking that part. This is the part where it's like a kind of an art and an aesthetic kind of thing. What I want to do is I want to take this text and the G layer, and I want to nudge these over. So I'm holding down the Shift key on the top layer, selecting the G, and I don't like where that's going, where the N is, so let's go ahead and move that back. That's looking a little bit better. All right, so now what I want to do is I want to reduce the size of this image, and I want to crop in just a little bit. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to crop. So I'm going to choose the crop tool. That's this tool right here. I'm going to move this in just a little bit, so I got that little bit of a wave. And I'm going to move that one right over there. I'm going to click. And now this may take a moment because there's a lot of layers that are on here. And as far as the color is concerned, if you decide you don't really like that particular color, if you double click on the T right here on this layer, that's the thumbnail preview, you can actually click back up on this blue, and maybe I'll use the purple. I'm not as concerned about what color you end up using on that. So it's totally up to you to decide what color you think looks best. You may experiment a little bit, click, and maybe you might go back to this color. Maybe it's the ball. That's interesting. Not the greatest, but that gives you some kind of look and effect based on the colors that you have here. Now, go ahead and save that, and that will be the final version that you turn in.